Good morning. Good morning. It's great to be here with you and officially open the 2022-23 school year together at this Thayer's 145th Convocation. It's just really good to be with all of you in this space and community together. After what I hope for all of you have been summers filled with adventure and rest and family and friends and hopefully some joy and learning. And speaking of our friends, I'll be excited to be welcoming back our middle school students and faculty to their brand new facility next Monday, just a couple days later than planned. So they couldn't be here today, but they're certainly here in spirit. Now, to begin this morning's ceremony, I'm very proud to invite to the stage Peter Chen and Connor Mannion, co-presidents of the student government at the upper school, to welcome everyone.
Good morning. It's so good to see everyone back on campus. I hope you all had a relaxing summer, especially my seniors. Can you all believe that this is our last year at Thayer? Equally exciting is the fact that a class of 2030, along with the rest of the middle school, will start their first day of class in the brand new building on September 12th. Next, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to the new students and faculty to our community, and a special welcome to the incoming class of 2026. I hope you all find a home here like I did when I first joined Thayer 3 years ago. Coming to Thayer as a new 9th grader, I didn't know a single person on campus. But over time, I got to meet so many awesome people from different backgrounds. I'm grateful for everyone who welcomed me to their lunch table. I'm grateful for every person that cheered for me, acknowledged my presence. And I'm grateful for everyone who went out of the way to start a conversation and got to know me. So, if you already know your way around Thayer, be the one that welcomes others to your lunch table. Be the one to start a conversation with someone you don't know and get to know them. Welcome them to our community. Thayer is a place full of opportunities, where you can constantly find chances to try new things. Even Max Hughes is trying something new today. He's wearing sneakers instead of Crocs. Be like Max. Try something new. Take those opportunities, because before you know it, you'll be a senior attending convocation, wondering how did your time at Thayer pass by so fast. So if you want to try a new sport, go for it. If you want to try a play, go for it. If you want to try robotics, Model UN, debate team, trivia, go for it. If you want to become Iron Man, dream big. And if you want to step it up from there and try out for Mathlete, why not? Each one of you is unique, and each one of you has a potential that is waiting to be unleashed. So in the spirit of a new school year, go crush that math test, score the winning goal, take all the opportunities you can, unleash your full potential, and leave no regrets. And more importantly, have fun and enjoy your time at Thayer. Have a great year, everyone. Thank you. And it is now my honor and pleasure to introduce my co-president, Connor Mannion.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning, everyone. Peter used his time up here to express the importance of appreciation and gratitude. Following his lead, I will be expressing my gratitude for someone who has made my time at Thayer that much better. I wanted to use my time up here to reflect on a loss that this community will continue to process and grieve throughout the course of this year. In late July, James Penner, a member of the class of 2023, passed away. I'm confident in saying that the mix of shock and heartbreak following the news profoundly affected everyone in this community, whether they had the honor of knowing James or not. At a memorial gathering at one of James's favorite parks, we heard stories from members of so many different communities about their experience with James. Since then, I realized the importance of storytelling as a means of keeping the memories alive of those we love. I'd like to take a few minutes to tell you all stories from my experience with James. Before I do so, I would like to recognize that James's parents are here with us today. Mr. and Mrs. Penner, on behalf of the Thayer community, our love is and will always be with you. I first met James at a cross-country practice our sophomore year. My real first impression of him was his ability to literally run circles around me. It was quickly clear to me that Tommy B and I had a lot of work to do to take the title of fastest sophomore. We never got it, for those wondering. While James's speed was impressive and admittedly a bit intimidating, it was his humor that bonded us. I can remember the countless team huddles at the end of practice filled with his jokes. I'd nearly bite my lip off to stifle the laughter brewed inside of me from us simply making eye contact. Despite all the pain that comes with running 3 and change miles all out in cross country, not saying it isn't worth it, also it is not too late to sign up. I figured I'd get a cross country plug in here somehow. James made it all fun, even when I was stitching up on mile 5 of a recovery run, still laughing at a joke he made 3 miles ago. As time went on, we made more jokes. Something I remember too vividly was last year's New England Championship meet at the Williston Northampton School. For those wondering where that is, think Amherst, then keep going. In the middle of the mountains on the November day, James was slated to really compete. As is customary with all away meets, the team takes a jog at the course as a sort of warm-up and to get a sense for the rocks and roots of the New England countryside. With my being injured last season, that jog got a bit much at times. Okay, I may have been a tad out of shape as well. Anyway, despite needing an intense warm-up to compete at a high level, James decided to stay towards the back of the pack with me, joking with every tree we passed. As a leader on our team, James had a job to do that day, to run the best he could. However, he realized the importance of his job of being a good friend, a job he excelled at that day and every day. You all have jobs, students, teachers, 5-star football recruits. It can be very easy to let the things you do on paper take up all of your energy and not allow time for what you may enjoy. What James taught me as a friend was to put what makes one happy first. I'm very grateful for that lesson, and I think it is one we can all practice at times. Find what makes you happy and defend it like it is your job. I would like to thank all of you for taking a moment with me to think about James. Don't let this be your only moment. For those of you who had the honor of knowing him, speak about him. For those of you who couldn't in this life, ask others about the phenomenal human they knew. For that is how we keep someone with us, by experiencing their story. Though it wasn't for as long as I would have liked, I am forever grateful to have been able to hear and be part of James's story. As you enter this year, I implore you to write and share your story and listen to those of others. That practice, I have come to learn, is what helps define a community. I wish you all a great school year. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter, and thank you, Connor, for your wonderful words. Now invite our singers under the direction of Ms. Hines to sing Thayer's alma mater.
We rise, alma mater, in homage to thee, once again our love to proclaim. Fore'er in our hearts, in indelible lines, graven deep stands thy honored name. Thou hast lighted the torch and thy standard given. Oh, may we henceforth there be as steadfast as thou on the side of the truth. Dear Thayer, here's our pledge to thee. We pledge our devotion, we measure our lives, alma mater, by thy standard sure, that honor may bless both thy children and thee, and thy name through the years endure. Thy tower rises high with its clear-toned bell, in memory 'twill ever be a beacon that pointed the way for our youth. Dear Thayer, here's our love to thee.
Beautifully done. Thank you. Good morning again. The start of a new school year for each of us offers the promise of new beginnings. Whether today is your very first day here at Thayer, whether it's the first day of your last chapter at Thayer, I'm speaking to the members of the great class of 2023, or like Mr. Carlson, you are celebrating your 46th year at the school, and let us honor Mr. Carlson for that remarkable accomplishment. when I look at all of you and I see new and returning faces who will collectively breathe new life into this school and build on the chorus of generations of Thayer students who've come before, I'm very gratified. I love to think about all the things that are yet to come this year, who each of us is going to be 9 months from now when the year comes to a close, and about the friendships that you're going to make and the friendships you will deepen from this day forward, many of which will last a lifetime, and that's very true. Now, building on the support of your families, those friendships, the relationships you make with your teachers here and your coaches, they're going to form the foundation of everything that you will achieve here. And I want to let you in on a secret. Maybe it's the secret to Thayer Academy, and I'll do it here in the first minute of speaking on our very first day together. Everything you need to succeed is found in the people in this room, the people all around you. If you want to do great things as a young scholar or an athlete or an artist or a leader, embrace the reality that everything you will do here, learning, leading, performing, competing, everything is a team sport. And this, my friends, is your team, all of these people around you. And we need each other to do our best work. We rise to honorable achievement, as is said in our mission statement, and we make a difference in the lives of others when we embrace the fact that we are part of our team. Our friends, classmates, teammates, coaches, teachers, the visiting scholars and artists who will join us in this community this year. This is your team. The people around you, this is your team. And because of that, I'd like to take a moment as we start this morning by asking each of you to take a moment, turn to the person next to you, or two people next to you, look them in the eye, kindly, not creepily, shake their hands, give them a high five or a fist bump, and welcome them to the new school year. All right, thank you. Thank you for doing that. And a quick public health reminder as I'm looking at the nurses over there too, or at least Mrs. Cunningham. There are plenty of hand sanitizing stations still around campus after you leave today, after I've asked you to give high fives and handshakes. As I just watched you greeting one another right now, as our team comes together this year, thinking about what Connor so beautifully shared, we must remember that this year starts incomplete without James among us. And while we will miss his humor and fellowship every day, let us keep his spirit alive and recommit to that by knowing each other, connecting with each other, and supporting one another, this team, his team. This idea of taking a moment of saying good morning and wishing someone a good day, let's do that. Let's do it every day. Let's do it all year long. Let's stop for a moment when you're on the walkways, when you're on the steps of Maine, when you're going to class, when you're going to practice, and you encounter someone you know or you don't know especially. Stop to see each other. Stop to say hello, thank someone, encourage someone, and connect briefly. My suspicion is the more you try to do that, the more dividends it's going to pay in the stories that you get to tell people, the stories you hear, the opportunities you'll have to make friendships, and those things that will in turn make you more comfortable and actually more skilled in being a good communicator and a collaborator. Those are leadership skills that you absolutely need to be great at as you leave here and go into the world. And that's going to make you stand out in your life. So it's not just about the good things for this community, it's about good things for you too. So today, a new chapter, a new school year begins for each of us, and I'm going to ask you to consider, how are you going to choose to show up? How will you show up here today and tomorrow and each day after that? Now, I realize that's a lot. That's a big question for everyone to ponder when there's probably just a few things. I'm looking at our freshman class as well and new students. There's probably a few things swirling around in your head and some anxieties that you may be feeling. So to help with that, I want to do two things. First, I'm going to virtually introduce you to Teddy. I know it's shameless when you show a cute pet up on a screen. He's not officially licensed or certified to bring people comfort, but he brings me a lot of comfort, including on this stressful moment of a first day of school. And he was happy enough to pose for all of you with the hope of offering a calm and reassuring, non-judgmental face to start your morning. And I hope when you are walking around campus later in the day, if I'm walking him or Mrs. Fortunato's walking him, that you get a chance to meet him, and he will be very pleased to see you, and especially if you have treats. The other thing I'd like to do, knowing that you have a lot of things on your mind today, is simply offer my advice. Offer my advice for how I think you can show up and should show up here at Thayer. And on that front, I offer and invite you to do 3 things. First thing, look up more than you look down. The second, strive to be a builder and not a cynic. And the third thing, be kind. So to the first of those things, I think way too much time in our lives in this world is spent looking down. That often means literally looking down, right? At our phones, our devices. You see people who are on crowded streets bumping into each other when they're texting or posting, or the people who immediately bring out their devices when they sit anywhere in public by themselves because they're in that awkward space, maybe before class or waiting at Starbucks for somebody, embarrassed that they're going to look like they're visibly alone and what that means. I'm sure all of us have been through that experience. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate and use my phone often. I love a good meme, sort of. I've been amused by and maybe impressed by some things I've seen on TikTok and equally horrified by some other things I've seen on TikTok as well. I like being in touch with my family and my colleagues. I like having the freedom and the power to have a world of information in my hand at any time. And this technology is going to remain revolutionary and world-changing. And so part of our job is to make sure that you learn how to understand it, leverage it, and contribute to it or innovate around it. So I'm a big fan. But I'd also like you to consider what we might be missing, what you might be missing when you're spending more time looking down than up. And it turns out, I think we're probably missing more than you realize. There are times when it's amazing to have the world in our hands, and then when we're looking down, sometimes our worlds actually are getting smaller. We're missing what could be some of the most meaningful conversations, the ones that lead to those lasting friendships, the ones that lead to opportunities that, no exaggeration, can change your lives. So here's one way that I want to help our team this year and build even stronger and more meaningful connections so that we look up more. This is not an entirely new thing, but this year moving forward, we're adopting a practice that when you're in your classes, your phones go in your bag, not in your pocket, not on the desk, not on the floor. And when you're in the dining hall, they shouldn't be out. And that goes for adults as much as it goes for students, unless it's some kind of emergency or it's part of a lesson. Because that constant distraction that comes from endless buzzing and notifications and the temptation for us just to check, just quickly, just I need to check, it's literally rewiring our brains, literally rewiring the neurons in your brain in ways that are actually pretty seriously getting in the way of the things that you come here for, which is deeper learning, more meaningful connections, and it's harming your well-being. And on those fronts, honestly, all of you deserve nothing but the best from this school, and I want us to be best at doing this. Now, there's one more way in this community that I want us as a team to think carefully about how we might be looking down more than looking up. And it's not just the literal part of it. I'm referring to how, at times, people can look down on others in judgment, or look down on ideas and opportunities simply because they're new or different. We want your worlds to be bigger, not smaller. And that comes from being curious, having an open mind, an open heart, and a willingness to ask why, maybe even more than once, and actually listen to what people have to say. But our worlds get smaller when we step away from curiosity, and instead when we dismiss or judge or denigrate people and ideas that we may disagree with or we really don't quite connect with or understand just yet. I totally get why that happens. So much of what we see and hear, whether it's online or in person or around us, is focusing on taking people down as opposed to building them up, shutting down ideas instead of exploring them, and labeling people. There's this odd to me misguided pressure these days to make people believe you have to be one thing only or the other thing only. People are all right or all wrong. You're conservative, you're liberal. You're an out-of-touch dreamer, you're an uninspired realist. You're good or evil. For a good Star Wars reference, you're Sith or Jedi. You're Miyagi-Do or Cobra Kai. All right, maybe I went too far. But to me, see, that's a cynical way to look at life. And all of us in this room, as teachers and students, and by the way, every one of us, adults and students, we're all teachers and students on this campus and citizens of the school. We can't fall victim to that. Jeff Bezos, I imagine some of you have heard of him, right? Okay, I imagine you have. He famously spoke at Princeton's graduation a few years back, and he posed the question to the graduating class, will you be a cynic or will you be a builder? I know it's easy for all of us to fall victim at times to being cynical, especially when the world seems so polarized, problems seem too big or too hard, or when other people let us down, or when we let ourselves down. But today I'm going to ask all of us to try to be builders. Go into this year and build friendships, amazing teams, championship teams, academic records that you can be proud of, amazing plays and concerts on this stage and everywhere else, impactful global scholars and senior projects, service days, Omega celebrations, art portfolios, robots, clubs, winning Winter Wars teams, and so much more. And do not be fooled by cynics who look down on others, or who say it's naive to actually believe in things, or who want to find fault in problems instead of fellowship and solutions. And in that same Princeton speech, Bezos asked another question: will you be clever at the expense of being kind to others? And so I come to my last challenge to all of us for this year. Maybe it's the simplest of all. Be kind. In all that we do, how we treat each other, the people in this room and everywhere else, it matters. It's a reflection of who we are. At some point, what you do becomes who you are. And there are all sorts of ways to justify being clever at the expense of others. I understand the temptation and sometimes the pull of that, it's the strength of that. It's the stuff that TikTok challenges and Instagram reposts are made of. But I challenge all of us to be better than that. I challenge all of us to be better than that. Look up at people around you who rely on you and who you rely on before you choose to be clever at someone else's expense. Kindness is not a luxury here. It's an obligation. Thayer is not a place where we will embrace cynics, people who think they're too cool for all that we do here, or trolls, or anyone who chooses to bring down people or lob insults from the cheap seats. And when I say cheap seats, I'm not talking about location or price in an arena. The cheap seats, whether they're in the front or the back, the VIP lounge, or the nosebleeds, those are the seats filled with people who themselves never put themselves out there, and yet they hurl mean-spirited criticisms and put-downs from a safe distance instead of actually themselves getting on the court, the turf, the pitch, or the stage. There will be no cheap seats in this theater or on this campus, not under my watch. So in every place on this campus and every part of this school, that means every classroom, playing field, locker room, hallway, dining hall, pathway, every away game, every international trip, everywhere in between, I expect and will hold us all accountable for treating one another with exceptional dignity and care, because every member of this school is your team. So before we depart this morning, there are a few gifts I'd actually like to offer to you as we start the school year, because sometimes I think it's helpful to have tangible reminders of the things we talk about and the things that matter to us. So first, last year I was inspired by a student who was searching for a Thayer pin, the one I'm wearing now, that he wanted to proudly wear to represent us at an academic off-campus competition. So this summer, several of us got together and designed for you this Thayer pin for all faculty, staff, students, and trustees. And I imagine there'll be some alums who will be sending us notes as well looking for it. They're going to be available to you in your advisories tomorrow. I hope you'll wear them or stick them on your bag or keep them somewhere for years to come. And the same goes for a Thayer t-shirt that I think is over there. Peter, can you grab that for me? Thank you. Thank you, sir. A Thayer shirt that we designed over the summer that everyone will get, faculty, staff, students, and trustees, to start the school year. And I hope it's something you'll wear as we do things like all-school days of service and other all-school opportunities. And finally, there's one more way I'd like us to help continue to think about looking up and staying more connected as a team. Let me ask you a question, just quick show of hands. Who here has ever spent any time looking up at the sky or the stars when you're sort of deep in thought or trying to figure something out? Okay. You're in pretty good company. It's a pretty universal human experience that's been going on throughout history, as well as in almost every major Disney character's experience in all the movies I've loved. And I brought you some examples. So, there's something that I want to be able to do for all of us. And by the way, This is something you can very much do when you're in between things, as especially gets darker earlier here at Thayer. And that's our observatory. There's something about that momentary act of looking up that's a reminder to all of us that we are part of something bigger, connected by common experiences and identities and a yearning to figure out our place in the world. So to encourage all of us from time to time, take moments to look up, I went ahead and I bought Thayer a star. Okay, well, let me back up. Not exactly. Because it turns out, by the way, you can't actually own or buy a star, but you can name one. And Mr. Smith, by the way, I'll send you the coordinates so we can look at this through our telescope. Its original super cool and easy to remember name was CX1266US. But for our purposes, I've renamed it so that it will be forever known as Thayer 46, in honor of our school, our team, and in honor of James. And I'll send this to all of you so you can find it in the night sky as well. I know that while we enjoy the privilege of being together in this space, looking forward to an incredible year ahead, there are going to be moments, whether it's this year or years from now, when we might need a reminder of what it feels like to be known and to be seen, to be a part of this place and part of each other's lives. So whenever and wherever you are, a day from now or decades from now, remember there's always going to be a point in the sky in which each of us can look up and remember that we are forever connected and that James will always be a part of our team. So I shared a lot of words today, but as we close, I'd like us to all together have the last word. At the end of this year, you're going to hear Mr. Carlson continue a long-standing tradition of singing the song that starts with these three words. But for today, I'm hoping as we depart, we can send each other off today by saying these words together, Thayer, Thayer, forever. So they ready? Let's do it. Thayer, Thayer, forever. How about one more time, loud and proud? Thayer, Thayer, forever. Thank you so much for listening, for your attention. Have a great school year.